I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they've forgiven my mistakes. I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they've forgiven my mistakes. I'm coming home, I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
Well, greetings, everyone. So glad to see you. We had to sneak in the ranch house fireplace in that video because last year we got to sit in front of it, or I got to sit in front of it when we did this gathering. This year, we kept getting moved because the ranch is full. When we started, the ranch house was booked, but then we were going to move to St. John's Meeting House, and then that booked, and then we were going to move to Harrison House, and then that booked. And so this is a really good thing, but I'm sitting in the pavilion with a virtual background to greet you tonight. So I wanted to give you a little bit of the taste of the ranch and say hello. Uh, I'd like to start tonight with an opening prayer, and our dear friend Susan Pierpoint has agreed to lead us in that. So, Susan, you're muted though, Susan.
Let us pray. Beloved Lord, we thank you. I want to start by saying thank you for technology. We're so grateful tonight that we who love the ranch can gather together. All these people from all over the Bay Area and other places too, on a rainy night at one of the busiest times of the year.
I think just as Susan gave thanks to technology, hers shut down. So I think she's dropped off the Zoom. Um, we will keep going. These things happen.
God has a sense of humor.
God has a sense of humor, and we will say thank you to Susan and for all of you, and amen to the prayer she was in the midst of. um, and maybe she can offer a closing prayer if she jumps back on. The next thing I want to do is just have each of our board members who are on the screen tonight just acknowledge them, and let's start with Hale Foot, and then you can pass it to whoever. Hale.
Great. Hey, everybody. It's wonderful to be with you and at the ranch virtually. We were there for our annual board retreat in November as the seasons are turning and everything is orange and gold and brown. It's beautiful. So I am enjoying the pictures that I'm seeing tonight. It's great and happy to be all with you. And I'm going to go, at least on my screen, to my right, which would be Jim Forsyth.
Thanks, Hale, and thank you for all that you've done as president the last 2 years. I've been the bishop's appointment on the board of the ranch for over 20 years, so I obviously must enjoy what I'm doing. And it's very nice, as Susan said, through technology to be able to have meetings like this with our supporters. And I am looking forward and hope we can do this more often. I can't see the screen.
I see Dewey. Maybe Dewey could go next.
Yeah, Dewey, that's good.
Okay. Vice President of the board. I've been on the board 9 years, and it's delightful that everybody's here. Susan and I live up near here, for those of you who don't know. So we get over the ranch frequently, and it's been a tremendous experience. And I've got one more year I'm going to be on the board, and already have some things to work on. So I'm looking forward to it.
Always things to work on, right? The ranch. I think that's everyone that I see. Is it? And not everybody is popping up on my screen. So everybody, that's if you're a board member and I haven't called on you, speak now or hold your peace.
Hey,
Great.
Aaron, I'm not a board
Yeah.
member, but I just want to say that's the last time I'll thank God for technology.
We noted that you, and we were hoping you would close us in prayer when we're finished. That'd be okay.
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, as I mentioned before, we did this last year around this time, and it was so helpful to gather and to hear from everyone. And I want to give you a little bit of an update on some of what I shared last year, because it's amazing how much this gathering, this Coming Home Live, contributed to everything that happened in 2023. And I think you'll think that's interesting as well. So let's jump in to some of what's happened this year. So last year, when we were on this call, I shared with you that we had just done a new strategic plan. The board had worked really hard on it, and we had these 4 areas. We walked through them on this call. I'm not going to walk through all this again on the call, but I'm going to give you some updates in each area. We talked about mission clarity. We talked about sustainability in 3 areas: financial, human resources, and facilities and land. And I want to report probably the most exciting thing that we started with was the mission clarity work. And your words on this call spoke directly into that. I don't know if you were here last year, if you remember, I asked you the first word that comes to your mind when you think of the ranch. I asked you, what does the ranch do best? What's our gift? And then I read our previous mission statement and had you populate the chat with the words that stuck out to you. And we took all of that and fed it into our work on mission clarity. The other interesting thing that came out of this call was Candice O'Donnell was on this Zoom last year with us, and she stepped forward and said, I would love to help facilitate your mission clarity work. And so she led our task force through an on-site retreat, working with that, helped the board get clear on it. And some of you have probably already seen that the outcome of that was a beautiful, simple, new mission statement that incorporated all of that work. And so I'm happy to say that the mission of the ranch is to share a place of rare beauty through hospitality that nourishes spirit, body, and mind. I'm also happy to say that we start every board meeting with this, saying this out loud, and it's much easier now. And everyone can almost, I could do it from memory. We're almost there as a group. And it really, as we've shared this with guests and staff and people who have come on tours, it seems to just click with them and resonate and say, that's what the ranch is to me. So that came directly out of us gathering last year. And I just wanted to bring that back and say, thank you. Some of those words that you shared as well, we found this over and over again, not just on this Zoom call, but in smaller groups. When we talked about the words and the things that people value about the ranch, many of those led right into our values work as well. So we were able to label 5 core values: spirit, community, beauty, sustainability, and equity, and really flesh those out. And we'll share this. If you haven't seen this already, there'll be a follow-up email to this tonight, and you'll see it on the website and all of that. But it was really important work that started to help us get clearer on where we go next. And so some really practical things have come out of this. We've started a bit of a branding refresh that will lead to a new website in 2024, which we're very excited about. our old website has served us well, but it is old and needs some updating as we reach out to new folks and want to share the ranch with an ever expanding group of people. I want to just give you the updates on the other categories that we were working on. We starting with sustainability around our human resources, our staff. I was able to introduce our director of hospitality operations last year on this call, Caitlin, who had just started, and she's been here over a year now and has had really great success. One of the highlights of her work has been our volunteer host program. I see several volunteer hosts or newly trained volunteer hosts on here tonight. Volunteer hosts basically come and participate in the hospitality of the ranch by attending to guest needs. They come for a couple days at a time, usually a weekend, but sometimes in midweek. We now have over 24 volunteer hosts that have gone through training. And Caitlin just told me today that all of January, every weekend, we have volunteer hosts signed up already for January. So that's great. If that's something that you're interested in, we are going to be doing more trainings in the new year. And you don't have to commit. You can go through the training and decide it's not for you. And then you do a shadow even if after you go through the training. And it's just been a great success. So we're excited about that. We also restructured our business team, our reservations and everything there. We hired, I think last year on this call, our new reservations coordinator had been here just a few days and I introduced her to you. She's done a great job. And that team has been working really well. We're going to end up having the most guests and the most guest revenue this year since 2019. And so they've been working really hard to just get people to the ranch, which is great. After summer camp, our seasonal summer camp director, Ellie McLean, agreed to stay on. She's now a residential host year round and running summer camp and has just she did such a great job with summer camp 2023. And she's already hard at work on 2024. I'll tell you a little bit about what happened in a little while here and what we're looking forward to in 2024. Another really notable staff thing is we're looking at our chaplaincy program and the chapel, and Fish and Mark actually really got involved in support of this initiative to discern the spiritual life and offerings of the ranch, and specifically the role of a chaplain at the ranch. So we've formed a chapel advisory committee. Father Brendan Williams is still our chaplain. He's here in residence for now. And we've just really been working on chaplaincy toward all of our guests and also the worshiping community that meets here on Sundays at the ranch. So those are some of the highlights around human resources that we were starting to talk about last year. I want to give you a little bit of update on what's happening around the campus, facilities and land. Probably the biggest thing that will inform a lot of what we do going forward is just last week, we started a reserve study on the entire property and all of our buildings and systems. We found a firm that was willing to come. They spent 3 days on site looking at everything, taking pictures, measurements, and all that. It will take them several weeks to put that into a report that will really help us plan out what it will take to maintain the ranch over the next 10, 20, 30 years with some schedules and some financials behind it. And that will allow us to really start planning and get ahead of some of the things that we know are coming that the ranch will need: roofs and water heaters and plumbing updates and all of those fun things that come with running a place like the ranch. The other thing that we've really been working on still is our resiliency efforts. We got backup power thanks to a very generous donor this year to the refectory. So anytime the power goes out, we don't lose food and we don't lose the ability to keep the kitchen running, which is really great. We had the goats back this year as well to continue to do their work on our hillsides and We had a very positive defensible space inspection. They were very impressed with our 100 feet of defensible space around all of our buildings. They encouraged us to start looking at the 0 to 5 feet of our buildings, and some of the landscaping that we have that's like right up on our buildings. They're suggesting some changes as next steps there to make us a little more fire resilient, as well as some building hardening, which will be a big undertaking as well. One of the huge wins in that space around resiliency is we were able to band together with our neighbors and our COPE group, which is Citizens Organized and Prepared for Emergencies, and go with our local fire chief for a CAL FIRE grant, which we were awarded. So our neighborhood got $350,000 in a CAL FIRE grant that will do a lot of treatment on the roadsides on West Side Road and some of the surrounding areas. But the highlight of that for us is that the Bishop's Ranch will be a demonstration site for forest management. And so we're actually going to get about 25 to 30 acres treated that desperately needs some vegetation management in order to be more prepared for wildfires as part of that grant, as well as be a place that our neighbors and others can come and learn about the importance of being prepared for fire and doing good forest management. So that was a huge success in terms of our facilities and land area this year. The third area, I just want to keep moving through this pretty quickly, just to give you updates of all that's happened around this, is the sustainability of our finances. As I mentioned, we're going to be on track to have our highest revenue from guest use this year. And we're looking even better in 2024 on that front, which is very exciting. We also had a philanthropy audit conducted. So just looking at our fundraising program and saying, how are we doing? What's possible? We got really solid recommendations back around how to look at our fundraising. And one of the things that the board moved to do is hire a full-time philanthropy director. Some of you know Tyrone, who opened our time here tonight, has been here part-time and as a contractor, and has done really excellent work, but has several other clients and all of that. And so we really are ready at this point to have someone working full-time for the ranch. And so we're actually in the interview process with several really good candidates right now, and are hoping to be able to make an offer to someone by the end of the year. So hopefully in the early 2024, we'll be introducing you to our new philanthropy director. I just wanted to also point out that part of this work around the sustainability and the finances of the ranch, a lot of that is done by volunteers and committee. Our philanthropy committee does an amazing job of writing notes and reaching out and connecting with folks and hosting events. This year, we hosted several small gatherings, some at the ranch and one at Lauren McComb's house on the peninsula. Just small gatherings of folks now that we can all gather again in person at times, just to really connect with our ranch community and hear from them and share where we were. And those have been really, really helpful in terms of helping people feel connected. So all of this matters because it is bringing new life to the ranch. As I mentioned, we're full this week. And it's really been fun to see this. We have brand new groups on site, some returning groups, but we have a small group that's really working on creative climate change solutions here right now. We have a group of mental health professionals working with a group of women who've experienced significant trauma who are on retreat here right now. We have NLP Marin on site. We've had Kaiser here this week. We've had early childhood educators here this week. So it's been a really, really busy week. And then we're going into our Quiet Days of Advent retreat this weekend. So the ranch will get quiet for a few days. And then we'll have one more retreat, and then we'll go completely quiet for the Christmas break. But lots of fun new life. I want to share just a couple of pictures. Some you've seen probably before, but we continue to host the first responders. We hosted 4 of their retreats this year, and we've got 4 more scheduled in 2024. This program continues to grow and is really going nationwide now. They've been invited to bring this retreat to the Capitol Police and to people all around the country. And so we are still the only place where they do this version of it, but they're hoping to expand that even more. We have a lot of new groups, and this was one of my favorite this year. We had the women from Genesis Church in Antioch, and they have matching outfits for every activity. And they were just a hoot. They were here with the Men of Grace, and I don't think the Men of Grace knew what to do with them, but it was really great. They were here for the first time. They had a fantastic retreat. It was so cool to host them. And they said, we want to come back next year and we need exclusive use because even more women are going to want to come. So that was fun. We hosted a group of international Sufi folks, and they're coming back and bringing several retreats to the ranch in 2024. And then I mentioned camp earlier, but a couple years ago, we were just looking at our family camp and our generations camp, and both groups were saying, my kids are older and, we love this, but where are the young families? Well, the young families were at the ranch this summer at our intergenerational camp. We had 23 kids under the age of 10 at our intergenerational camp. It was full. It was full of life. As one long-term camp family said, there's a lot of 2-year-old energy here this week. And so it was so fun. It was sold out. We're figuring out how to make a little bit more space in the week that we have designated to it in 2024. But if it continues to have this much demand, we'll probably have to add a second week back in. It's really, really fun. The other great summer camp success is Read Camp, our program with the Healdsburg Elementary School for kids that are mostly English as a second language family and struggle with their reading skills. It's been completely sold out. And so we are expanding that because there's a demand for that. We're going to do 2 weeks of Read Camp in 2024, which will be really, really great. And so I just that's a lot of information, but I wanted to give you sort of a progress report based on where we were last year when we were talking. The ranch was quiet. It was empty at that point in time. We were gearing up. We had new staff. We were just saying, yes, we can do this. And we did. And almost all of that is thanks to the ranch community for really stepping up and supporting and being encouraging. It means a lot. You all show up and you encourage us to keep going. Your gifts definitely fuel everything that we do. And so it just means a lot. So I wanted to share how exciting of a time we're in and just this new life that's happening at the ranch. And since we got so much out of last year's Coming Home Live and your words and your thoughts, we did want to we wanted to give a good amount of time tonight just to hear from you again. And so we're going to take some questions here in a minute. So you can do that one of 2 ways. One, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you and have you ask your question. If you don't want to do that, you can drop it in the chat and we'll field those that way. If we have a ton of them, I'd encourage you to drop it in the chat too, and we can answer them if we run out of time tonight. But I want to make sure I can see everybody so that you can raise your hand if you have a question.
Hey, Aaron, while you're queuing that up, can I say just a word about the Capitol campaign?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm asked about that all the time. So I'm pretty sure everybody on this call knows about it, has probably pledged, and has probably also started their donation sequence. So the Capitol campaign is an important topic. Like many things, it divides into pre-COVID and post-COVID. we had a big head of steam going into 2020, and then everything changed. The capital campaign went on pause. It was not canceled, not dropped. We're on pause, but we raised a good chunk of initial money, and some of those funds have already been used for very strategic capital improvements, a roof or things that needed to be capital expenses. So we don't yet have a date for resuming, but rest assured that the money is in good hands. It's being used as it was intended. And when things return to normal, I would put this in quotes, I guess, we will resume at some point, hopefully soon.
Yeah, and we have really been piecing out rather than probably going for the whole thing at once. We'll have some new priorities, I'm sure, coming, we already have some new priorities coming out of the pandemic, but we'll probably do some smaller projects first, and you'll see we have a couple of roofs I meant to mention that we've got to tackle in 2024. We would like to get the pool solar heating working again. So we're working on quotes for that. There's just a couple of big things like that that we really need to tackle just to keep running. So I see Matt Santos with his hand up.
Hey
Matt.
guys. Hey, how exciting. I'm gonna find some grandkids I can bring up next summer. I don't currently have any, but I'll find some. That was great news about the Intergen camp. But quick question, and I tend to go longer, but I understand the bishop candidates came up to the ranch this past summer. Are you guys there still?
Yes.
Yeah. So just your impressions, because Joni and I had a chance to hear one of the sessions in Fremont, blown away by all three candidates. And obviously with Austin Rios selected, he shared his story. He has a 16-year-old kid. He shared stories about how youth were so important and how important having critical masses at for youth events. And so your story about 23 kids at the camp is just right in line with that. So just wanted to find out, what were your impressions with their visits, and I guess it might be a little too soon to see where he might be headed in terms of any impact with the ranch, but any thoughts by anyone who might have been part of that visit by the candidates?
Well, I can tell you that we were told that visit did not happen. No, we were all sworn to secrecy because it was the search and transition committee. So we were not allowed to let anyone on campus that was from the diocese, and we were not even allowed to share the guest list with our staff, which is really unusual.
Wow.
So we didn't really interact with them at that point. That was, but we did know who they were. And so I said, everyone seemed super nice and generous in their time here. And so I was excited about that. I don't know if others have thoughts beyond that, but when they were here for the visit, they were kind of sequestered away from the staff.
And Aaron, you know me, I tend to stick my foot in my mouth, but I asked them offhand after the sessions about it. And we know Phil Burchard. Joni and I worked with Phil in bread camps 20 years ago. We were excited about his possibilities, but I'm excited with just the energy that you've shared that's happening up there. And then again, it was only an hour with him and his wife and Austin Rios, the new bishop. I'm excited for the future as well. So just wanted to share that, and of course find out if there's any intel you guys had on your side. But thanks.
Great, thanks, Matt. I saw Susan Lucas's hand up, so you unmute, Susan. Oh, I think you're still muted. Let's see if we can get you there.
Thank you and Kara for helping me connect with the program today. I have been coming to the ranch for 47 years, and I am at this time really gratified and impressed with the diversity of the programming, the diversity of the kinds of groups, their directions, their topics, their needs coming to the ranch. And Aaron, did you ever imagine when you came to work at the ranch what a lot of responsibility you would come to have, and all of the invention and innovation and problem solving and reaching out? I mean, you have grown like Topsy, and I compliment you and thank you. My concern, my interest has been for a long time the opportunity for lots of different kinds of people, and now I'm speaking of different ethnic and racial groups, which are strongly represented in the diocese, having the opportunity affordably to come to the ranch and have their lives changed, as you repeatedly claim. And you have an equity commitment. You've promised not to create any barriers, but for some inclusion efforts, it takes more than just not creating barriers. It takes really proactive reaching out. And there's already been a lot of that, resulting in a diversity of topics and groups at the ranch. I just want to continue to sing that song to bring families of color from other parts of the diocese to Generations Camp, or whatever it's going to be called, because that's a good place to really connect and feel that you belong at the ranch. So that's my comment, but mainly I want to thank you and compliment you for all of the work and envisioning that has been done. And there are a lot of fancy words in the vision and so on, but I'm seeing gradually their realization. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I think that's a really fair assessment, like seeing gradually their implementation. That's something that we noted at our board retreat too, that we still have a long way to go in that area, that we have made significant strides, but much more to do around equity and diversity and inclusion for sure.
Thank you.
Hey, Aaron, I wanted to just sort of have some input here. And folks always ask how they can make an impact at the ranch. And then one of the biggest ways, not only at the end of the year for Advent, but the rest of the year, is to support the annual fund. The earned revenue only covers about 70% of all the expenses of the ranch. And so we really rely on generosity of the ranch community to make a difference. Having a full-time advancement director will give you more resources to actually continue to cultivate the relationships we've been re-engaging with. And with more in the annual fund and then being able to come into the black financially, we can then start offering more sponsorships and more discounts for groups that are coming in. As we know, costs for running the ranch aren't going down. And so we're really excited about the possibility of having a fully functioning philanthropy department. And I'm really focusing on continuing to cultivate the relationships with all you great folks. So focus on the annual fund.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Tyrone. I meant to say in the financial piece that if you got our annual report last year, you saw that we lost $300,000 in 2022. And this year we've done really well around use revenue. We will still run a deficit, but it will be a lot less than $300,000 thanks to the huge uptick in use. And our annual fund is actually down this year. So we're really looking for strong and end of year giving. And many of you have done that, so thank you. But we're really working on that through year end to make sure we end as well as we can in 2023 as well as we can, so we can go into 2024 and continue doing the work. So.
And for folks who are wondering why, there are new studies out that show individual giving is down across the board across America. And so it's not something unique to the ranch. The whole world is changing around philanthropy, and we're paying attention, and having a full-time philanthropy director can make a huge difference.
See Dee Dee's hand.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks to everybody for all the great work you've been doing to make the ranch become the vital place that it can be in this era. I want to just explore a different direction here, and I hope I'm not getting too much into the weeds. But it from what I've heard, it sounds like the senior high bread camp attendance was quite down last year on the upper end of senior high. So I'm just wondering whether there might be an opportunity to do some intentional outreach to campers who attended bread camp in the past, but perhaps their attendance got cut off by the pandemic or whatever, they got out of the habit, but to try to bring them back. Because at that age, they're more likely to do something if they either know their friends are going or if some really cool person like a counselor has reached out to them and maybe some of the other people they know to say, hey, it'd be great to have you back. Just reaching out to the parents at that age is not particularly effective for kids that age if they think they aren't going to know anybody. But I feel like as a faith formation thing for kids in the, in senior high, to be able to connect with the ranch and have that groundedness as they go off to do whatever's in the next chapter for them after high school is a real opportunity. And I think it's important for the ranch as well to have those relationships with these young people who will be young adults very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Dee Dee, for bringing that up. That's definitely part of why we brought Ellie on year round as our camp director. We haven't had a lot of continuity in our camp program, one because of the pandemic, but also just in staffing. We haven't had a consistent staff person in place. And part of her work, a part of her being year round will enable her to reach out and do those types of things. We're also kind of rebuilding staff. I do think we're on a good track. We had some repeat staff this year, and we just heard camp staff are great. Then it's like camp equals lifelong relationships, right? So two of the camp staff from this summer just got together and flew to Maine to hang out with two of the other camp staff from this summer. So they had a little camp reunion in Maine. But at that age, to put that kind of effort in and going to see your camp friends is pretty great. So I think we're starting to see that connection again. But there was, there was significant disruption with COVID in terms of camp, and I think we're kind of coming back around it. But I also think we have lower numbers of teens across the diocese from what I see in stats. So some of it is just building and us having the continuity and the staff to do that kind of year-round work. So I'm excited that Ellie's committed to that, and she's really got a lot of energy around camp, which is great, and a lot of good camp experience. Let's see, Wendy, looks like your hand is up.
Hey, thanks so much for doing this. I am in the car but pulled over, and my son is in the back seat. And I just want to ditto, Ellie is fantastic. James had a great time at Bread Camp this year. And it occurs to me that following on Dee Dee's comment, I think right now is a good time to reach out to youth group leaders around the diocese, because we haven't made plans yet for this summer, but come January, that's when plans start getting to be made. And you're totally right. If all his friends are going, then, the kids are going to want to go too. And the only other thing that I want to say is I had no idea there was a capital campaign going on. And I know it's on pause, but if there are more details about what is needed, please let us know. Thanks.
Wendy, tell James I said
soon.
Matt says hello. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi, James. Oliver says hi too.
Hi.
Hale, did you?
Hi.
A couple of people spoke at once. Did you say something there?
No, I just assured Wendy that she'll be hearing from the Capital Campaign very soon.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we were in the what they call the quiet phase as the pandemic struck. So some people had heard and some people had not, but yeah, that was definitely happening. So let's see. Susan, I see Susan and then Jim Forsyth. Susan Lucas, go ahead.
Do you still have the partnership fund? Oh, wait, yeah. Am I unmuted? Yeah. Do you still have the partnership fund?
Yes, we do. We still have the partnership fund. We have really been working with the granting organizations to beef that up and have set a bigger goal next year. So a lot of our success in that gets to camp, but we have a lot of support there that we can continue to utilize to do camp scholarships. So if a kid wants to come to camp, the kid can come to the camp at the ranch. We figure out how to make that happen regardless of finance. So yeah.
Well, I'm a fan of the partnership fund, and we often hear, of course, about the annual fund. That's basic, but I hope that the partnership fund will get some promotion and publicity too.
Yeah, great. Jim Forsyth, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah. I just wanted to say regarding the capital campaign, one of the reasons for the reserve study, not just to identify and give us cost estimates of the things that needed to be done, it will allow us to identify specific projects that people may be interested in that they would like to help us fund on an individual basis. And once this reserve study is completed, we will release that information to people to highlight specific projects and give people the opportunity to help fund those projects, as well as the general annual fund, which is vital to making us reach a break-even cash flow every year. As Aaron pointed out, I've been the treasurer of the ranch for, I don't know, 10 years now, I think. Our increase in nonprofit use and church groups has been remarkable this year, but the fall off in the annual fund has made it unlikely that we will break even. We are not going to be very far into the red, but we're not going to be able to have a zero balance at the end of the year. So this just points out the fact that we need to leave no stone unturned in every area to keep the ranch functioning.
Yeah.
You see in the chat a question about our parishes coming to the ranch for parish retreats or returning to the ranch. Yes. We saw a lot of parishes return to the ranch in 2023 that had not been here through the pandemic. The other thing that we saw was some of our parishes called us and said, can we have more room? And that had not happened in several years. But I think people are just hungry to gather again and do things again. And it really felt like this year we were seeing life there as well again. So that is continuing to happen.
That's great.
Well, I don't see any other hands, so I wonder if I just want to say thank you so much. I know Susan's going to do a closing prayer now, technology willing. But I just want to say thank you. The fact that you show up this time of year and do this and just shows how much you love this place and how in this you are with us, and that means the world and keeps us going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll turn it over to Susan to close this in prayer.
Let us pray. Dearest my Lord, I really want to say that I am still grateful for technology. This has been an amazing meeting. thank you for bringing together all these people who love the ranch at this very, very busy time of year. On a cold, rainy night, it is a miracle that we can actually be together, sharing this love and sharing our thoughts about the ranch and sharing in the news of all the things that have transitioned and improved at the ranch during the last year. What a busy place it's been. We are so grateful to have the ranch, to come there, to get ourselves pulled together individually, and to renew the sense of community we have with everyone who shares their love of the ranch. Thank you for the times that we have been there, for the guidance you've given us, for the guidance you give us as a group, for the guidance you give the staff. Let us leave in our hearts a legacy for the ranch, the financial means to continue now and in the future for our children, because we've noticed, Lord, that the world's a mess. And people need this place. They need it so badly. Let us make sure it continues to be available to all who need it for the healing and for the fun. We ask all of this in the name of our beloved Son, your beloved Son, everyone's beloved Son. Amen. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Please reach out if something spoke to you tonight and you have other things you want to ask or talk about. We're here.
Good job,
Merry
Aaron.
Christmas.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Yeah. Happy holidays.